Okay, so someone that can be rejected, you know, after all the sacrifice that they've done, after all their efforts, after every day the grind for them, buying a house or even just doing things for them. Um, these women will reject their their husbands or their good relationship or the good man, over the bad guy, and over though they're willing to walk away from loyalty itself. And a lot of these women are not even like I'm just kind of quoting what my mentor said in one of these videos, and I agree. It's not right because it happened to me. I could preach about it too because it happened to me, and I agree with one of the rare videos. I agree with him. A lot of the stuff I don't agree with, I discern because I try to follow the Lord, and I don't live his lifestyle. And he's pretty religious. He's a Catholic, but I don't follow his. He has different philosophy on that, and I have as far as carrying on with the courting and the dating, I have a different philosophy, a different way. I believe in the Baptist way to do it right, and to get it right at one point, and to do it with God in mind, and not to be juggling different kinds of you know dates, and to have overly like a lot of Facebook members. Friends. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like having a lot of Facebook friends. I only have family members from church and stuff like that, and very rarely a friend, a longtime friend who's really cool, who's been cool with us for years, like family. And I just don't feel like I need that dopamine rush or those likes, but I do like them. I do appreciate them from the family members and from people who are her friends or family. But it's like to have like 300, 200, 1,000 friends all over the place, and then get all that dopamine rush. Man, that's too much. That's why Facebook is no good for social media. It just brings out too much temptation, especially in marriage and godliness. When you start a relationship, it's only good for communication. I only use it to communicate and for information, stuff like that, to just keep you updated on health stuff and reasons like that, reels. But anyways, so yeah, and a lot of these women are not cheating. They're not cheating. They're not cheating. They're just like they're basically just like if you really think about it, they're oh, hold on. Okay, basically they're just um they're having they're just not loyal. They just start drifting away. They start drifting away even after all your efforts. They start drifting away. They either because you're too gone too much in at work, or because they're not getting that attention from you, that emotional ride or something. I don't know what it is, but they start just walking away from you, and that's not cool. But nevertheless, if you have a woman that you start feeling making her feel a little too uncomfortable, or not uncomfortable, but if if you start, if you start, like if I start getting too comfortable, making her feel a little bit less, like less. I mean, you're not chasing her as much. You're not providing as much because of whatever the reason, work or whatever. It could be a lot of. Sometimes it could be work or whatever, and you start making her feel a little bit uncomfortable, and things happen. She starts to change. You start being too good for her. Maybe even sometimes it has nothing to do with being too busy. It could just be giving her what she wants. Too much of what she wants, and then this is where the mind game plays. These girls don't appreciate effort. And then, you're giving her everything she needs. You're giving her overboard because you trust this woman, and you love her, and you're acting like a godly person, and because you feel like she's earned those flowers. You're giving her those flowers because she's earned them. You know, because you feel like she's earned them very quickly. That's why they say don't be giving her flowers on the first, second, third date at all until she earns them. But when you give her the flowers, it's only because you know she's earned them. Something there about her. She's giving you her time. She's never flaked on you on on the dates. She's always communicated and responded back on your text with good emojis and all that stuff. And so you go and give her flowers. But if you see from the start that she starts drifting away, then, and if you have never given her flowers, then she's got to earn them. You don't give them flowers at all. So that's very. But it's also even after that they start drifting away for whatever reason. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them, and they don't reciprocate or they don't try. They don't do. They don't give you the. I don't know. You give them a little too much, and then they start acting like okay, he's too good or something, and they start going with the guy that has necessarily doesn't meet that criteria either. So yeah, if you think about it, um, she might not be cheating on you like that, but she has this mentality in her mental state. She starts to react differently. She doesn't respond to your texts anymore. She walks away. She's she mentally, and this is where a lot of times a lot of these coaches on red pill, I mean, they're pretty precise. And I know this is not a golly video kind of like that, but yeah, I just felt like it had to be said because it's reality out there with these crazy women. If they're not homegrown Baptist women, and if they're not truly healed, and if they're not an Amish girl, beautiful Amish girl out there, then I don't know what to say. You're always gonna have a damaged woman who's trying to follow God, but still makes mistakes on the way to her improving her life and in relationships, and that's not right. That's not godly. But you could say that she's trying and everything, but also you have women that don't even know God. So how are you going to trust these women? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, if men are hurting for real women out there, it's crazy. So you have all this going on, and and so she starts building this off ramp, man, or she starts building that bridge or that avenue, whatever her exit plan to try to like you know to land in someone else's arms or in someone else's apartment or whatever, or car or wherever she just gets her freak on. I don't care where it's at, motel. I don't care. Sometimes they're pretty, or even at the work site. Like I have a friend that he got cheated on. She just got a job. She got a job since she was some kind of nurse, and then next thing you know, she's getting on with the guy in one of the nursing rooms or whatever. Next thing you know, I think she gets pregnant at the time. I think, and then the guy took it pretty hard. He was gonna hang himself, and he's my neighbor. He's my neighbor. I'm not gonna name any names. We keep him anonymous. This is private story, but it's kind of sad. Um, he was gonna hang himself, and he took it pretty hard. Even to this day, he drinks so much that you I mean, he's still hurting. So he starts crying about it. But when he's drunk, he starts tearing up. But yeah, and now she regrets it, from what I hear, and she's like, and she regrets it. But what can she do? She regrets it. You know, and the guy ended up leaving her. He just ended up just pumping her and dumping her, and that's not good. That's not a good thing. And I just feel that there's so much about women's psychology, and the red pill is not something that I wanted to bring in to my channel, but I'm just saying it's so rampant, so out there, it's like chaos with these crazy women. They're not even trying, they're not even godly, and if they're godly, they're not fully healed. Because a lot of people, a lot of women hide behind that. They hide behind the mask of being godly. They go there for their own reasons, but they're truly trying to get saved. But like I said, I had godly women, or I had other godly women, and they all failed. They all went to church, but they were none of them stood out. It was like weird, like so. Yeah, it's not that they didn't have a sincere heart; they just didn't have it. Just they're not there yet. And so it's weird, man. Why waste their time to fulfill pleasure and lust? Just want to work on themselves for the next 5 years. Stay single for the next 5 years until you're really, really, really ready. And if you feel like you're not ready, then just throw in the towel, and just stop doing that, because breaking hearts and breaking your own heart and allowing your own heart to get broken, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it. And it might not, she might not cheat on you like right off the bat. Like there's like people that like mentally they're cheating already. They're just taking off. They're getting a dopamine hit. They're dabbling into new profiles and stuff like that. New um things that are getting dressed, to get taking pictures, and they start working, especially the one that's working all the time. And then they start supporting their system, and they start drifting away. And like I said, they build an avenue or an exit plan, and they start drifting away. They start going to the gyms at night, especially at night, because most of the time in the mornings and the afternoon they're crying. So they go to the night and they try to avoid the guy. They have an excuse to avoid that. They start looking good. They want to start going to the gym because they want to look good for a man. They want to look good, and they start going to the gym. They start working out, and then might meet that hot instructor at the gym, or maybe that's a place where they can just relax and beat stress. They can't go to sleep. They get a second job. They get a second, start working harder, and they start using that excuse. And she's at the end of a relationship, and they start using the excuse. Oh, I'm just working harder. I'm just working harder. No, she's not. She's actually keeping her options open out there, or she's actually at the verge, at the end of the road, trying to leave the man. And the man's, well, she's working hard, so that's it. They're having problems, but he's not. He's not truly concerned that much. So they're going. She's going to the gym. She's working out. She's going late. She's starting to live. She start building her social. Start going. Actually, getting a new job or building a skill or something like that. Um, Meeting new friends, stuff like that. Getting involved with them and stuff like that. And so it's been said, like, also like what I was saying with my mentor. He just got this new video. He was also saying that, and this is true, that they've also, you got a woman that also wants to, like, you know um kind of like party hardy, like start getting to gatherings without you. Like, oh, we're having a, it's one of the worst things you could do is have an after party, or those kind of parties, like those employee parties. That's all set up. That's all set up by the bosses and employers just to get with single women and have affairs. It's no good. You don't do that. You don't get invited. That's a big red flag right there. And so, yeah, she starts getting more interested in the hobbies, her interest, and she starts getting more into her girlfriends, on the phone all the time with her girlfriends, her family, more involved with her family, things like that, those kind of events. And her mind just starts drifting away, and it's just crazy, man. And yeah, and then next thing you know, it's giving you the cold shoulder, and something about them. They're attracted to the bad guy. They're attracted to filth. They can't change. They can't change. They won't change until they're too old. I mean, do you think that so that's the easiest girl to get, the one at the end of the rope, that's at the end of her relationship, whether it's a, even if she doesn't have a relationship, she's just starting, she's just out there dating or whatever. Those are signs that she's not interested in a man. They're there, they're subtle, but especially when she's a woman that that's been in a relationship or a marriage, and you can see those signs too. You can see them. They always end up with someone else, something different, and it's not about the money, because it's not about the money, because in the end, they've had men with money, and they end up dating men with money, but they don't settle down. They settle down with somebody with money that's that ends up doing the same thing to them, cheating on them, or ends up providing for them, and she gets comfortable at the very end. I think that's another story for another time. But at the very end, it's either because she's sick or because she's too old. I mean, she hit her 50s. Whatever the case, she knows the freaking clock is running out and she needs to settle down. And she settles down. She settles down. And she settles down with the biggest beta male. And he could be the biggest, he could be well off, rich, or whatever, but he's still a big man, beta male. Because, it's just like she ends up settling it down with the guy that does to her those things in the first place, but lacks the things that really matter, like devotion for God. You know what I mean? And she just replaces it with a paycheck. And in the end, even those are not even there's low tier men in the spirit. It just doesn't make sense how women could do that. Replace a good man with a low tier or even bad boy. And like I said, one of the easiest women um, is the one at the end of the relationship, or the one who's who's you know, that shows subtle signs that she's drifting away. Whether that's the beginning of the stage of dating somebody, or in the marriage, or even a relationship. And it doesn't matter if the guy sacrificed or did everything right, or did just did everything for her, and it was there for her no matter what. All that, she's just already mentally gone. She's mentally gone already, and they prepare themselves like you know with all this stuff. Their support system. They start getting their support system, and they start working extra hours, and it's a habit because you know that's where usually they can meet men. They're out there working 40 hours a week, whatever, or even more. But it's all about hypergamy, man. They're out there they're just like they're so in tune with the male coworkers and their male friends, and they just know, they just know, and so that's their motivation too, besides survival. But it's just one of those things. Um, and yeah, because he could have been there for years and years, invested physically, emotionally, all those things, man. And in the end, she's still gone. She still leaves, no matter what, and she ends up being with a scumbag, a scumbag that ends up leaving her anyways, ends up cheating on her. And to me, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. I don't understand them, you know. And it's not worth it, man. It's not worth dating these women. And one of the easiest women, like I said, is one on the are the ones who at the end of the rope. They're actually easier than if you think there's easier. You know what's even easier than a single mom, which is pretty easy actually. They're pretty easy. That's true. A lot of them out there are pretty easy. is a is a woman at the end of the rope. So actually coming out or exiting from a relationship, and then do they end up getting a good man at the end of the relationship? No, excuse me. And they end up getting a scumbag, a scumbag, a one night stand, a relationship, a one night freaking stand. And that's weird. And where are the good men in this world, man? Where are there good men in their lives? When are they going to freaking sorry about cussing, but yeah, whatever. When are they going to freaking change? Change in that and it makes a man angry, especially a man that's been through it and that actually provided, and a man that has it in them to stay faithful. And they look at that as weakness, man. They go with the bad boy. You know what I mean? And failed relationships after failed relationships. It's very, like I said, it's becoming more of an anomaly now. having a good man and having a good woman. So now these women, they will get a complete scumbag, like I said, um, and they'll leave you your the true loyalty, uh, and just to monkey branch. Monkey branch means like they're just out there looking for men, looking and then trying new things out. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're sleeping with them, but they're scanning men, and so and they could be like just doing it mentally. They don't have to be sleeping with them, and they already have a few men texting them like crazy if they have apps. So it's just ridiculous, ridiculous, man. And this is why it's important to know this stuff because you don't want to be in a sea of like you don't be with a bunch of women, especially because they're the ones taking advantage of men more than anybody. Um, Women nowadays just take advantage of men, and we can't be fools. You know what I mean? We got to know what we're dealing with. Now, all we got to do is just learn that. We see the signs, and then we can protect ourselves and walk away. But yeah, the saddest thing is a man that does everything for her, like from the start, and especially if he's invested years and years and years, and in the end, she goes and chooses the scumbag. A bad boy. Um, it's just not worth it. And they have zero remorse, zero, zero, zero remorse. These women won't give you any apologies for it. They'll just take and take and take. They love it. They love making a fool out of you. So be careful with them women. You know what I mean? And catch them real quick. Catch the signs. Play along with it. Play along with it. Use them as practice. Use them as target practice. I don't care. I'm not saying like sleep with them or anything. Just use them. Use them as target practice. But don't, once you see stuff like that, you gotta nip it in the bud somehow. If it's a marriage, try to nip it in the bud. But if she's doing that already, if she hasn't cheated on you, you can try to try to get it right. But if she's cheated on you already, you should leave her. Unless you're a godly man and you got encouragement to to fix it, and she's willing to fix it. But if it's not like that, if it's just a starting relationship, then just let it drift away. You can keep trying, but don't be giving your hopes up high. And if it's a relationship that's not in marriage, thank God you're not married. Count it as a blessing. Walk away as soon as ASAP. Plan your exit plan. Because especially if you're a high value man and you have money and everything, she's replaceable. She can never replace you if you're like rich, right? And you make a lot of money. She can never replace you, but you can replace her. So that's not a big deal for the man that has a good business, that has, he could be in his 50s, he could be in his 60s, you know, and he could start all over at 60s if he wanted to. But as long as if he's rich or he's got some kind of money, he can replace her like nothing. And she would never be able to replace him. She always have to go lower, little lower. So, yeah, that's the situation. So I just wanted to tell you those things. And a lot of times, these women, man, they'll leave a guy that's really clean, that likes to stay clean, that likes to clean his his place or something like that. Likes to clean his area, you know, and he lives pretty clean by all means. He eats clean, he exercises and everything, and then they'll go with a guy that doesn't eat clean, that eats takeout. He might have the abs. This is so weird about health. The man could be eating clean, could be on a mission to eat clean, and he could be so healthy from the inside, but he's got a little bit of a layer, like he's kind of like for me, I'm halfway there. All my mentors, all my rich millionaire mentors, have told me that you're halfway there, John. You got some muscle for being 51 years old. You're pretty awesome. I'm halfway there, halfway. A lot of men are not halfway there. I'm a little bit over halfway now. Now that I've been dieting and living in my RV and everything, but financially, I'm not there. but have more freedom than most people, and I'm gonna make another video about that. Why I'm not financially stable right now, but I am financially stable enough to travel and be free for the rest of the year, and 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 create my own exit plan on how to get out of this situation. But anyways, and I will make a video about that, so I can all the haters out there calling me homeless or lack of will, strong strength, and stuff like that. And I'm gonna make a bad video, um, an awesome video that will shut the haters and will explain to my subscribers why I'm like this, and this is the reason. This is the road I chose, but I will improve as time goes on, and I will improve fairly quickly. Well, financially, for those who are financially already stable, I'll tell you one thing, man. They'll end up with somebody that's less clean hygiene. They'll end up with somebody else's apartment, stinky, nasty apartment. You know what I mean? Someone who doesn't take care of themselves, eats eats whatever they want. You know what I mean? They're smelly. They have body odor because the toxins and they eat unhealthy. They're farts, man. I just always had a little saying where I said my farts are organic. They smell good because I'm eating herbs. I'm eating herbs and fruits and stuff like that. I'm eating really healthy. They can be eating bologna. They're eating chips. They're eating this. They're eating that. Takeout. They're gonna smell like really bad stink bombs. So in every way, they end up being the good guy and the clean guy for someone who's not even keeping up with their health, their looks, their internal system, their exercise. It's just they might look good from the outside because genetically there's a lot of skinny people out there, but it doesn't mean that they're healthy inside. I've seen people that have no fat on them, they ended up dying and getting sick. But and people who have a little layer of fat, but they are healthy inside, that little layer of fat is just winter coat or whatever. It's not. It doesn't look good, but it's not gonna kill them. What's gonna kill them is the lack of energy. The lack of nutrients and healthy foods. So, so uh, looks looks are deceiving, man. You know, and but this is what these women choose. They choose stinky over cleanliness, and I don't understand that. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing how filth, a filthy mind, is attracted to a filthy man or a filthy woman, and it's not good, man. It's not good. Why? I don't understand. I always said hurt people love hurt people choose hurt people, and it's just kind of like that's who they are. They follow the mind is attracted to what they feel at the moment, and I see it time and time again. They leave the good man for the bad man. They leave the good, for they leave the clean man for the unclean man, and they leave the believer in Christ for the unbeliever, unequally yoked. And next thing you know, they're popping babies, becoming single mothers, or they wasted half of their beautiful years, and then some of them, like some family members that I know, and I hate to say it, some daughters, not not most of my daughters. Most of my daughters are already. I could say one in particular. I'm not gonna name her name. She's climbed mountains. She's doing good now. But she knows who I'm talking about. But the other ones, they tried. They're trying, but they go backwards. They go with a guy that's bound to cheat on them. They go with guys that are immature. They don't have nothing established. You know, and you know, they struggle with lust. So I don't know what to say. That's just reality of women, and only because and this scumbag usually he makes them feel the right emotions, and as you know, she's in his bed, just like that. Something so quick, something that happens, and you know what, and my mentor, he's right about that, and because I've been watching his videos lately, and I just had to, it's happening to him right now. And if it happens to him and he's the best and he's rich and he's got money and he's famous, it can happen to anybody. But you know, they're out there looking for a good woman. It's really tough to find a good woman, especially at my age. Not really at my age. It's just hard to find a good woman, but it's only because she's not out there, and it's got to be God's will. She's out there somewhere. I mean, she's out there somewhere. It's just so far so good. Like I'm just out there doing my best, you know, to follow God right now. That's what's important. But yeah, I feel for these men, man, because these guys are experts. They're experts. They've had so much studies. They study the woman's psychology. They train men how to date them, and then how to handle them, and how to keep a marriage. And in the end, the mind's so complicated, so weird. But it shouldn't be so complicated with God. That's what I don't get. You know why some of these women claim that they love God, and they've been there for 10 years, but yet you can see that they're not. They're doing things behind their men's back, and it's so weird. Not sure why, but you wonder. And on top of that, she ends up in a stinky apartment, and she ends up doing all kinds of things that she wouldn't do with you. Like, she'll be like, "Oh, I don't do those things. I don't do those things. No, I'm not like that." And then, but she ends up with the stinky guy, and she ends up doing all those things, those sexual things, all those other good things too, whatever that that she wouldn't do with you. How about that? What kind of crap? What kind of bull crap is that? Nasty, man. I'm telling you, women are weird, man. They're a trip. And I always saw that. I learned that. I learned that from these coaches. But I have been fortunate. I have been fortunate enough to see good women out there with good men. Not all women. I'm not bashing them or anything, but it's very rare nowadays to find a good woman, or anything like that. A good woman that's been through hell but was able to get it right in the end, especially that. But yeah, but in reality, it's just human nature. It's human women's woman's nature is built in them to walk away from a good man. It happens to the best. Like there's guys that make a lot of money, most money than most men, and they do those things for a living, and they're also vulnerable to that. They're vulnerable to that situation. They will they will they will experience same thing. Like right now, the mentor that I like, my first mentor, Red Pill Coach. I just happened to tune into him about a week ago, and I said, "Wow, the girl that he's with for 5 years, who he felt like was the mean girl, and you could tell by his reaction on his videos, it hurt him. And this guy's like untouchable, and he's extremely smart. He can dissect a woman psychologically, and he's the best. He's the GOAT, greatest of all time out there. And still, this girl, as soon as you start getting them more attractive, more admiration, as soon as you start doing too much for them or too less or whatever, too much, as soon as you start showing up to every event or every little thing and not keeping her on her toes, like psychologically, she starts to not reward effort, and it's crazy. It has nothing to do with status anymore. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's status, it's status. You get the money, get the money, get the money. So get all this, get the money, get the fame, and she'll never leave you." That's not true. You get the money, they'll still leave you. And like I said, it takes a true, special, convicted woman who actually loves the Lord, and settles down with or without status. Doesn't look at the status, looks at the heart, looks at the climb, looks at all those flaws, but she just believes in her man. That's what it takes. A converted, contrite heart. And if you don't have that, you're going to miss out, and you're going to keep moving all over the place. Like, it's not cool, man. So, where the question is, where's that contrite heart? Where's that godly, true godly woman? It's very difficult to find her. Let me tell you, it's hard. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Through prayer and fasting, I believe so. You really have to beg God for it. You really do. But in the meantime, it's just one of those things. I think this video is too long. I could keep going on, but there's two parts in it, and watch it if you want. Don't watch it if you don't want to. But if you appreciate knowledge, maybe this will help you out. And that's it.